Unit 5 Powers of the Adjudicatory Authorities. Section 11A confers power to labor court tribunals to give appropriate relief in the case of discharge or dismissal of a workman. This section applies when a dispute about the discharge or dismissal of a workman is referred. If the court or tribunal finds that the discharge or dismissal was not justified, it has the power to set aside the dismissal or discharge order, direct reinstatement of the workman, provide alternate relief. The court can decide the nature of relief based upon the circumstances of the case, provided that the court must rely upon on material facts already on record and cannot admit new evidence during the adjudication proceeding. According to the doctrine of proportionality, the gravity of offense and the strictness of the punishment should be proportionate to each other. It helps to assess whether, considering the context of and circumstances, an employee's conduct was so serious that it should give rise to just cause for dismissal. Only if the misconduct was very serious, an employer may have a just cause to dismiss the employee. In other cases, an employer should use progressive discipline. Only when the misconduct or poor performance repeats itself or continues despite discipline and clear warning may it amount to just cause for dismissal. The workmen of Firestone versus the management. The workmen were terminated based on finding from a domestic inquiry conducted by the management. During the pendency of the dispute, Section 11A was introduced, which gave the industrial tribunal the power to set aside orders of dismissal or discharge if found unjustified. The tribunal ruled in favor of the employer, refusing to apply Section 11A retrospectively. There are two major issues that arise in this case. The first is how should we interpret Section 11A of the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, and second, whether Section 11A has retrospective application to dispute pending as of December 15, 1971. This section empowered the Industrial Tribunal to set aside orders of the discharge and dismissal. Retake. The court ruled that the Section 11A does not have retrospective application and only applies to dispute referred for adjudication after its enactment. The court also acknowledged the importance of conducting a proper domestic inquiry before terminating workmen. However, it upheld the tribunal's decision that the inquiry conducted by the management was not defective and did not warrant the application of Section 11A retrospectively. Section 11A was a beneficial piece of legislation aimed at protecting workmen from unjust termination. However, the court also noted that applying it retrospectively would create practical difficulties and disrupt settled matters. Hombe Gowda Educational Trust versus the State of Karnataka. Venkappa Gowda was accused of assaulting the principal of Kuvempu Mahavidyalaya with a chappal. He was found guilty of the charge and dismissed from service. Gowda appealed the decision before the Educational Appellate Tribunal, which found that the departmental proceeding invalid in law. The tribunal partially upheld the charges against Gowda but reduced the punishment from dismissal to withholding of 3 increments. Issues: whether the disciplinary proceedings conducted by the trust were valid under the Karnataka Private Educational Institution Act 1975, and second, whether the punishment of dismissal was disproportionate to the misconduct proven against Gowda. The Supreme Court held that the disciplinary proceedings were invalid as they did not comply with the Rule 14 Clause 2 of the CCSCCA rules. The court found that the punishment of dismissal was disproportionate to the misconduct proven against Gowda. The court considered the circumstances, including the fact that the assault did not result in serious injury. The court reduced the punishment to withholding of the 3 increments, considering the principle of proportionality between the gravity of the offense and the stringiness of the punishment. The court also reasoned that while the misconduct was proven, the punishment of dismissal was too severe given the circumstances. The court emphasized that the punishment should be proportionate to the misconduct and should not shock conscience. The court also noted that the victim did not suffer serious injury, which was a mitigating factor in reducing the punishment. Scooter India Limited versus Labour Court. The employee faced three separate charges of misconduct on different dates. Separate inquiries were conducted for each charges and all charges were found to be proven. The Labour Court found that the disciplinary proceeding adhered to statutory requirement and principle of natural justice. Despite finding the charge is proven, the Labour Court held that the termination of employee service was not justified in the circumstances. The Labour Court set aside the termination order and directed the reinstatement of the employee with 75% back wages. The issue that arose in this case was the decision of Labour Court justified or not. Supreme Court held that it was not to be said that the Labour Court has exercised its power in an arbitrary manner and uphold the decision of Labour Court. The Supreme Court acknowledged that the disciplinary proceedings conducted by the Scooter Limited were valid and adhered to statutory requirements and principle of natural justice. The court emphasized the need for proportionality in disciplinary action, ensuring that the punishment fits the nature and gravity of the misconduct.